Welcome.
Welcome back. It's been a little while.
It has been a while. Welcome, everybody, back to the Exhale podcast. I am Eric Strauss. I'm here with Rodman Lees. How's it going, Rodman?
Good evening, Eric. I am
Good evening,
going good,
indeed.
man. Can't complain. You've been having some serious adventures, so I'm excited to crack open this podcast, man, and at least start talking about Spearfishing Nationals, which sounded like an awesome time plus success, man. You're driving. You're on the boat with Ryan. He came in first place individuals. So
Absolutely.
be an awesome podcast talking about that.
For sure. So, like I said, we've been away for a little bit. We've both been doing a little bit of traveling and a little bit of diving here and there. You were gone for a long time going, who knows
Yeah,
where.
so I was in Colorado with the family. I spent a couple weeks up there. So not as much diving as you got to do, but still a really, really good time. Hopefully come September, we'll be able to go and do an elk hunt, which would be awesome. We'll see if
Nice.
that happens. We did some scouting, so I got a little bit of the lay of the land. Not that I think that will help me at all. The unit that I'm hunting has like a 12% success rate with archery, so
Perfect.
but
That's pretty good odds for you.
But we saw him, so that's all. So you're saying there's a chance?
That's all that matters, man.
Nice. So you were up in Lake Mead, right, with Ryan Myers and who else?
So Ryan and his girlfriend, Sam Mace.
Nice.
They were competing, and just to kind of give you guys a overview of what we're actually talking about here. We went there for the National Spearfishing Championship. So there is a competitive side to spearfishing. A lot of people don't really know this, but there are state competitions, national competitions, and all the way up to the world level.
World level, yeah.
And this national championship kind of helps determine who is going to be placed on the Team USA for spearfishing to go to the World Championship. So it's fair to the guys that are on it. It's definitely a very important tournament, and it's nationals. I mean, it's kind of a big deal.
This is as big as it gets. As far as the world is bigger, but as big as USA spearfishing gets, nationals
For sure.
is it.
For sure.
So you have to win at a state level, right, to qualify to get there.
Technically, I think there's still some weirdness as far as the rankings of how you build yourself up to that. Hopefully, in the future, it's going to be a more refined system, a little bit more defined, rather.
Gotcha.
Refined and defined.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see that in the future. But generally speaking, yeah, you do need to acquire, I guess, points on a state level and points on a national level, percentage points to be able to qualify to be onto the USA spearfishing team.
Cool.
So we went with the intention of winning, and we did.
There you go. Yeah, you guys went early to scout. I know the weather wasn't great, so there weren't that many people scouting as heavy as you were. You guys were definitely in the echelon that took it the most serious.
Yeah, and we went into it with that mindset long beforehand, even before we went out there. So we were out there. It was me, Ryan, and Sam. They actually went out a little bit earlier than I did.
All right.
This year it was at Lake Mead, like we said, it's a freshwater tournament.
There you go. Which is kind of wild. That even that alone, it kind of is coming from South Florida is weird. Freshwater spearfishing here is completely illegal. So to have nationals in a lake is kind of not what you would expect.
Definitely way out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I've never, being from Florida, I've never spearfished in freshwater. So it was definitely different. And not only was it freshwater, but we're out in basically a flooded canyon. It's like the tail end of the Grand Canyon flooded. So it's the geography underneath the water is just insane. Yeah, it's
got to be all a lot of walls and
mostly cliffs and walls and some banks and boulders and things like that. But it was not anything that I've seen before.
Yeah,
it's very different.
Jackalope skeletons and whatever else got flooded in the canyon.
Exactly. So I feel like we just had to get that out of the way because every time I've explained this tournament to somebody since I've been there, they're like, "You're going to Lake Mead to shoot carp?" What?
So what were you? So carp, obviously. What else were you guys targeting?
Yep. So the 3 species that were eligible for taking on tournament day are carp, which are worth the point system was 1 point per fish.
Yep.
And then there's tilapia, which are an invasive species, which were 2 points per fish, and then striped bass, which are 3 points per fish.
Aren't those all seem introduced?
I
I don't know if that's a fact.
I don't know about the striper. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know stripers do migrate in and out of freshwater. I think these are considered landlocked striped bass.
Gotcha.
So there's striped bass that don't. They're fully freshwater.
Do
They
the
don't-
stripes have like a little chink in them?
I never really
Okay,
noticed.
cool. No worries.
I didn't see enough of
Yeah,
them.
no. Fair enough.
So that's how the scoring worked for that tournament. Those
Cool.
3 types of fish. There was nothing based on weight or anything like that. It's
Just
all
numbers.
pure quantity. Yep.
You're just trying to rack up the bodies.
Yeah. And traditionally, this is not the first time they've had a freshwater series or a freshwater tournament. There's actually an individual freshwater nationals. So there's like freshwater by itself as a national championship as well.
Really?
So you can be the freshwater national champion. It just so happened that the overall nationals happen to be in freshwater
Also
this
in
year.
freshwater.
Yes.
Wild.
Yeah. Weird, right?
Learn something new every
I
day.
learned about some things I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
In spearfishing.
I am. All right. So you're looking for carp, tilapia, and stripers. Obviously, or at least from the sounds of it, carp are everywhere. You're shooting a ton of. The goal is carp, but you got there like a week early to scout.
Got there about a week early. The weather was actually magnificent during scouting. It was
All right.
about as good as it gets. The whole lake was glassed out. There's no wind. Visibility was fairly good for a lake. But tournament day was a different story. And I'll talk more into that as we get closer to that. But
So weather's good. What's the strategy for scouting? Are you just trying to like jump in every 100 feet, or are you you like picking stuff out of the map? How are you picking? Because obviously this is out in Nevada. We're from Florida. It's a whole brand new territory. How are you kind of looking at the land and unpacking it for scouting?
yeah, so for one, if you want, this is my take on the whole experience. If you want a little bit different take as well, Ryan actually wrote up 2 very in-depth and interesting blog posts about the whole nationals as well, and kind of his take on the scouting. And I'm gonna give kind of my point of view as to what happened.
Where can you go find Ryan's?
That's on his website at ryanmyersexpeditions.com. So you can
Sweet. Look
he
that up.
He has a blog that he writes all this stuff up on. So if you want to read about it, it's a great little article that he wrote. Anyway, our scouting essentially consisted of going onto any chart plotting. We were using Navionics.
All right.
Looking at Navionics and trying to determine what was good and not good grounds. Now, one thing that's difficult is the Navionics water levels are all fairly old for Lake Mead, and the water level of Lake Mead was down by like 100 something feet. So
everything is just
all the depth readings on Navionics were 100 something feet off of what they were saying it was. So it's hard. It was kind of hard to. It was hard, but not hard to try and find areas. You kind of got a feel for like, oh, this shows that this used to be underwater, but now this is probably a landmass. So you could find pinnacles and stuff that was actually way deeper that like Navionics showed as being really deep. Now those are like little pinnacles that are coming up to, 20, 30, 40 feet.
cool.
And are
That
holding
alone
fish.
for scouting is a huge benefit. Just realizing that, if not trying to read a map and figuring out like, hey, where are we going? What are we doing? Without it would be I imagine it'd be a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, so we figured that out, luckily.
Yeah.
And we kind of figured out how to read the map and find these spots, right? So we'd basically mark a bunch of things and then go out on the lake the next day or the same day and drop Ryan in the water. He'd make a couple dives, check it out, see what was there, get back on the boat, move to the next one. And we would mark everything accordingly based on like prioritizing what we're hitting and what we're not and that kind of thing.
So in Lake Mead, were you looking for like little drop-offs, like sheer walls, pinnacles, little step-offs, or just any kind of fluctuation?
Yeah, mostly like points coming out off of landmass, like main landmass.
Gotcha.
Main land mass. And yeah, pinnacles and things like that. So anything that you would normally associate with holding fish, right? So hard structure,
Yeah.
lots of relief, that kind of thing. All
Unique
holds fish.
structure.
Yeah, unique structure, that kind of everything that you would think works in saltwater applies the same.
Cool.
To a certain extent, right?
Yeah,
There's definitely differences in the fish themselves, but finding the fish is all pretty universal all over the world. There is a little bit of current, so like figuring out where the fish are going to be in it. When I say current, it's like micro current.
Yeah.
It's not much, but where the fish are going to be located on structure based on that was pretty important as well. So we were actually the first ones out on the lake scouting. We put more scouting days in than anybody else.
Nice.
Nobody was even there when we were first got there. I think there was maybe one or two other people, but they weren't. I don't think they were scouting super hardcore. So that was a massive advantage to us to start with, just being, having more time in the water.
Knowing where to go.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Otherwise, leading up to tournament day, all of our scouting. So let me start with traditionally, these freshwater tournaments, one of the main focuses is the carp.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's more carp out there than anything. And that's usually, it's guaranteed points. You can dive down, you can get 1 point every dive. Right?
They're that thick, huh? If you're in them,
if you're in them and you know how to work the spots and like how to keep the carp around and like not taking too much out of one spot, or not necessarily not taking too much, but just like trying not to spook them too bad and that kind of thing, you can pretty effectively get one carp per dive.
Crazy.
If you're good. It's not easy, but if you're real good, you can. And that's definitely not the case. Nobody is really doing that. But you're trying to do it as much as you can. Yeah. So traditionally it's all carp based, right? Everybody's shooting 1 point fish and they're trying to get as far as they can with that 1 point. Now, we got out and we started scouting, and this is all written up in Ryan's post as well. And we were finding striped bass everywhere.
Huh.
Everything we were scouting was covered in striped bass. So right off the bat, we're hitting all these spots, and we're seeing carp. Ryan's seeing carp all over the place, but more importantly, we're seeing big schools of striped bass, which are 3 point fish.
Yeah.
Now, that's 3 dives worth of fish in one dive when you're comparing it to carp.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're getting down into like, I mean, we're sitting there crunching numbers as to like what technique produces the most carps per hour. We were that like in depth with it. So once we realized there's stripers everywhere, it kind of threw everything out of the window or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, well, carps per hour don't matter anymore. It's striped bass.
Striped bass.
The whole game plan changed to let's hit these striped bass spots and see what we can produce. Yeah. Because we knew nobody else was going to do it. We had an idea of how many points it was going to take to win. Nobody knows for sure, obviously. Yeah. And we thought we could pretty much flip the tournament on its head by totally doing it differently. And
that'd be cool. You come in with just a stringer of striped bass, and everyone else has got carp. I mean,
and just crushing.
That's a baller move.
So, and that's kind of, we had like these grand dreams of like that scenario. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, I got 80 carp and I got 80 points. And then you romp in with 150 points worth of, I'm just making up numbers, but we thought it would be really cool. It was a big risk.
Yeah.
At the same time, but we were seeing so many fish so consistently that we thought it was worth the risk.
Yeah.
So we did all this, did all the scouting, captain's meetings, typical drama of spearfishermen getting together, that kind of stuff. It's always fun. But tournament day comes. We're in a new boat that we haven't driven before. The whole scouting week, we're using this little just shit box of it's probably a 15-foot thing with like a 90 Evinrude on it, and that did not run. It was either idle or wide open.
Yeah.
Classic 2-stroke. And then tournament day, we upgraded to a 21-foot ski boat with a 250 on it. The thing hauled. This was
nice.
I'll talk about it, I guess, in a second. But the tournament day comes, we load up on this boat, we get everything dialed in, and we feel good. I'd been spending the entire week like practicing what we're how everything works as far as me picking up fish and that kind of thing, which I probably won't go too detailed in. I don't know. I don't think Ryan would want me to talk about the exact game plan as far as what we did. However, practicing all that on one boat is one thing, and then getting onto a different boat and everything handles a little bit different. I was a little worried about that, but it actually ended up working way better because the new boat handled
was actually a boat.
way better than the one we had before. Anyway, so it's a shotgun start. There was a whole bunch of drama before the tournament because the weather was supposed to be really, really bad. It was super windy. They were talking about canceling the boat tournament and switching it to a shore dive,
Which would have thrown all the scouting out the window.
which would have destroyed our game plan.
Yeah.
You know, because we spent a week scouting spots that you could only get to by boat, and nobody else did. So we, right off the bat, already had a huge advantage, and now they came in with this like curveball that would level the whole playing field for all the people that showed up the same day of the tournament, you know, or the day before or whatever. So we were kind of pissed about that. But at the end of the day, it ended up going back to the boat tournament. Few people were pissed about that, but that's their problem. They didn't show up and scout. So
it was a boat tournament from the beginning.
You know, sack up.
Yeah.
Shotgun start, crushed the shotgun start. I was the boat driver for the tournament, by the way. I don't know if we said that. I wasn't actually competing. I was the driver and doing all the rigging for Ryan and Sam. So crushed the shotgun start, dude. These guys weren't ready for the South Florida shotgun start that I was bringing to them. You know, they were not ready. And everybody else is in like pontoon boats and deck boats and stuff like that. And we're in this freaking hot rod ski boat, and I just straight out the gate, and it was us and one there was another team on a 20-something Pathfinder with like a 150 on it, and we had a 21 ski boat with a 250. Now they were faster because the boat handled the chop way better. It was rough, dude. It was bad. Like, it was very rough. Dangerous. It was dangerous conditions. No doubt.
Especially on like a little, literally like screwed together pontoon boat.
Yeah. So the Pathfinder was eating that up, and we're just like, I'm going so fast that it didn't matter, but we're just hitting everything. You know, that ski boat is not made to take waves.
No.
So I'm like barely keeping up with this Pathfinder, and everybody else pretty much goes to a different section of the lake, and we're running to pretty much the farthest end of the zone, the competition zone that we can get to. Yeah. And that Pathfinder was going to the same spots, and as well as one other boat, and then a couple more boats ended up like trickling in as well. But it was like us and the Pathfinder freaking neck and neck. I was behind them in the chop, and we got on the leeward side of the lake, and I opened that bad boy up, dude, and smoked them. And they had everything in it too. They're throwing a freaking rooster tail up out the back, like they were trying to beat us, and I wasn't having it. That rental boat didn't know what was coming.
As you know, that's what rental boats are for. Run them.
Yeah, right. That was probably my like moment of shine in this whole tournament.
Getting them
was
to
just
the spot first,
crushing the shotgun start. And I'm like, dude, I'm like feet away from boats on the shotgun, like, because everybody's kind of getting out of the hole at the same speed, you know. Yeah. Ryan's next to me, and he's like, "What? Watch out for that boat! Watch out for that boat!" I'm like, "Bro, chill.
Got this."
Sam's in the back of the boat, like about to start crying because I'm running this boat so hard, and it was.
You had one job to do, and you did it.
I did it, dude. I came out to win.
Yeah.
The shotgun.
That's it.
But no, that was definitely a highlight for me. Anyway, so we get out. First things first, the weather conditions are totally opposite to what we were scouting.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, you're saying it's beautiful while you're scouting.
It was gorgeous while we were scouting. 0 wind, and now it's blowing 20, 25, gusting to 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And huge waves, all choppy. And we knew that was going to affect the fish. We just weren't quite prepared for how much it would actually affect the fish. So we, right off the bat, went to our number one striper spot. First things first, straight there.
Yeah.
Time hits, Ryan's in the water, starts diving. I'd go across the way and drop Sam off. Run back to Ryan. He gets back in the boat with a few carp. I'm like, okay. I didn't really say anything. I was like, okay, where's the stripers?
Yeah, that's not the
is
plan.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But at the time, there's like other boats around, so I'm mostly focused on just like getting them to spots and picking up fish and whatnot. So put them on the second spot, go pick up Sam, move around, and go back. Nothing but carp in the boat so far. So finally we get in, we're like, Ryan's like, there's no stripers. There's not one striper. He's like, wasn't even seeing them on the spots that we had been seeing them like day after day on some of these spots. Not all of them, but on some of them were super consistent, and now there's nothing. So our whole game plan that we had put together for crushing everybody with our stripers just completely got shot down.
Out the window.
And so now it's like, okay, we need to find carp.
Yeah.
So we ended up like hitting a bunch of spots that we'd already scouted. We knew there was carp there. We're getting carp on the boat, but not as many as we were hoping to put on the boat.
Yeah.
For the amount of time that we were spending on these spots. And man, we worked it hard. We were like moving all over the place. I'm running flat out in between drops, like by myself on the boat, just like flat out through, 3-foot chop on a lake on this 21-foot boat. I'm 2 inches shorter now because of this tournament. It was bad, but finally, like the last, it felt like maybe an hour. It may have been more. I kind of lost track of time in the heat of everything.
Yeah.
Put Ryan on one spot, and he kind of drifted the spot and went around the corner and just worked it, and there was carp all over it. And he cleaned house on these freaking carp. He probably put an additional 30 fish on the boat just from one spot.
Damn.
And it was a spot that we had not dove at all during scouting. We never even looked at it. And he just happened to like float around the corner for the spot we did check and found all these carp there. So we got really lucky. I think we probably could have pulled it off just with our, the normal scouting we did. Yeah. But that definitely was a huge like, whew, okay. That was a lot of fish.
Yeah.
And the boat is full of carp now. So hopefully this should be good.
This should work.
Yeah, the carp, there were so many carp in that boat, dude. I feel so bad for that rental company. Oh, gosh.
Just filled the thing up.
Every
like mullet boat style.
Every hatch, dude. Every hatch.
Just stuffed.
It was bad. So, yeah, we had run back. You get out of the water at a certain time, you have another 30 minutes to get back to the tournament start point.
Yeah.
You got to, like, cross through the buoys, and we are so far away, and we're going into the wind on the way back. We're going with the wind on the way there. And we had to be within a minute of crossing the start line, being overtime. It was really, really close. But we made it. It was probably one of the worst boat rides I've ever been on. The whole experience was physically and emotionally draining.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we weighed in. It was actually even shittier than that. I had to drive into the wind to drop them off at the tournament spot.
Yeah.
And then I had to drive the boat back to the rental place, which is back on the other side of the lake.
Nice. And
get the car and drive all the way around Lake Mead to get back to the weigh-in.
Yeah.
So I drop them off, haul ass out of there, by myself, just getting demolished on this ski boat. And they close at 5, and it's like 4:45.
It's just everything is covered in carp guts.
It was bad. But I made it. I was a little bit past the drop-off time, but they didn't care.
Yeah.
And I returned our boat in the cleanest shape of anybody else that returned boats. I pulled up, and I was like, they're like, oh, wow, this boat's way cleaner than everybody else's. I was like, just wait till you look in the hatches.
Yeah.
Because we didn't put carp on the deck. They were inside. And then drove back. And it ended up, we went there. It was weigh-in. They were the last people to weigh in. They kind of put it off so I could have enough time to get back. And boom, won second place mixed teams, mixed doubles. So Ryan and Sam as a team placed second. And then Ryan won the individual category with 77 points, I think it was. And the next closest was like in the 50s.
Damn.
So not only did he win, but he demolished
Landslide.
everyone. Yeah.
It's awesome, man. So now that you've had that awesome experience, winning nationals, a bunch of good scouting, and obviously a bunch of good technique. Like you said, you crushed the competition. You know, you were first place was 77, second place was in the 50s. Now that you and I are about to go to the Bahamas, or let's just say in the future, going future Bahamas trips or diving locally, how's it going to change the way that you scout locally, or as far as gear or techniques go? Do you have any takeaways from it?
Yes. And I don't know how much it actually will affect my spearfishing, because I feel like I dive this way a lot already, as I've grown as a spearfisherman and kind of become a little more conservative as far as the fish that I take,
Yeah.
and almost become more infatuated with like the grassroots spearfishing style. Like I'm more interested in going out and shooting a single fish and eating it that night,
Yeah.
and not having any leftovers, you know.
Yeah.
So basically going out and shooting a 10-inch mangrove snapper. And it's not because because I've shot all these trophy fish and I'm just like I just like going out and eating a fish.
Yeah.
I just like the full circle process of like
For sure.
going out, knowing a spot that I'm going to, and like hunting that spot to try and find a fish that I want to take.
Yeah.
Whether it's a trophy or not. I've like found that fish and I've decided that I want to take it, and now I harvest it and go home and eat it, and I just like that whole process now.
For sure.
Not that I'm trying to be like holier than thou.
No, I
because
mean,
we've all had our heyday in spearfishing,
Yeah.
you know. But one thing that I think tournament style spearfishing affects normal spearfishing, like going from competitive diving to just going out and enjoying spearfishing, I think it makes you, this is going to sound weird, but less selective on trophy fish and more interested in just collecting the fish that are closest to you.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, and
the fish is the fish.
Yeah, in a tournament setting, it's different because you're trying to get points.
Yeah.
Right. And the size doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
And from the other aspect, I'm not necessarily interested in the trophy. I'm more interested in just harvesting that fish to eat it.
Gotcha.
That's
fair.
I think that although they are different, they kind of
Yeah.
tie into the same thing. So I think I've become more of that style
Nice.
of hunter.
Yeah, on my side, just listening to you kind of tell the story, one of my big takeaways was the dedication that Ryan put into it. He's not casual with it, not even semi-casual with it. He is putting in hard days scouting,
Yeah.
and then the tournament day is just diving his ass off. It's not like,
Yeah, and-
hey, we're gonna go out here and we're gonna dive for 3 hours and call it a day.
Yeah.
Like that's not a day of spearfishing. No, we're doing this for 9 hours minimum.
Yeah.
You know, like we were at it all day.
To add on to that real quick, just like all the scouting and then one day of just like nonstop diving. The tournament was 6 hours,
Yeah.
right? Which is, I'd say, an average time that most people would go out and have a day
Yeah.
of spearfishing, right? You're probably going to spend about 6 hours on the water, maybe 4, maybe
Yeah.
whatever. And you'll put in, what, 20, 30 dives, free
Yeah.
dives?
Yeah.
In 6 hours, Ryan did 141 dives.
It's insane.
141 dives, which, I mean, I've done 50 dives
Yeah, like
in a day.
I was gonna say 50. 50 is like the number. Like you're out all day, 50 good drops.
That's
is
a
like-
lot, dude.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot of
that's a
drops.
long day of diving.
Yeah.
141 is more time underwater than you're breathing on the surface.
It's a lot of. That's
Not
a lot of
not
drops.
quite, but it definitely will seem like it when you're diving that way.
Yeah.
You know, that's, and to be fair, it's probably not. It's not probably. It's not a safe way to dive. Your surface intervals are short. You know, and when I was talking to Ryan about it, you know, it's all fairly shallow diving, so that mitigates a lot of risk, and it's not like he's in Greece diving 200 feet. you
Yeah.
know? So it's okay to kind of reduce your surface intervals a little bit. and deal with your high CO2 levels. It's great training.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's basically, his goal is to be down for a minute, up for a minute. You know, so you're trying to split pretty much 50-50 time underwater, time on the surface. And you're trying to shoot a fish every dive.
It's crazy.
Points every dive. Every dive you don't get a point, you're falling behind.
Yeah, someone else is.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the amount of work that he put into it, the amount, whether that's scouting or actual just hustling days. It makes my like day trips to the Bahamas where you're like, oh, it was a good day trip, you know, and we dove like 8 hours and I got like, even if it's 8 hours, I got 50, 60 drops in.
Yeah.
No, he did 6 hours, got 140. Like,
that's like almost inhuman, dude. It was whatever. That's a whole nother like level of diving.
Yeah. But that's what I took away. That was like, all right, here's what I need to change. Scouting more for sure. Like just learn the reef, and then dive it. Like freaking dive it.
So here's my takeaway on that. Cause I'm actually the opposite.
All right.
Going through it. And even though I wasn't even the one physically doing the diving.
Yeah.
I would much rather prefer spearfishing like for pleasure to not be anywhere close to that. It sucks.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That is fair enough. That's fair enough. All right, man. Well, it sounds like you had an awesome time, and you just got back from Alco, so we'll do another podcast on that. Maybe
Andros.
not Andros. Sorry, Andros. But it looked like amazing. Check out some of the pictures on the XL Outdoors Instagram. But just awesome diving. Yeah. The exact opposite of diving like Mead. And that's a whole nother podcast. But I'm stoked. It sounded like you had an awesome time. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations to Ryan and crew. And thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next time.
There you go. I want to add one more thing.
All right.
We will catch you next time. However, I encourage anybody who is truly passionate about spearfishing to look into their local tournaments and into what it takes for them to get into national level spearfishing and that kind of thing. The competition scene and meeting all these people and everything and talking to people was very, very cool experience. I had a really good time, even though it was definitely tough. We had, it sucked.
It's a great way to meet people and a whole nother aspect.
It's a whole nother side of freediving and spearfishing that you will never, there's nothing else that you'll do that's like this.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I encourage everyone to get involved.
And check out Ryan Meyer's blog. The guy has a wealth of information.
As well as there's another podcast episode that we did a while back with Ryan Myers talking about how competition has changed the way that he spearfishes.
Yeah, so check that out as well.
That's a really cool episode. And we'll probably bring him back on.
That'd be an awesome podcast.
Yeah, to talk about the tournament a little more. But anyway, we will catch you in the next one.
See you guys. Thank you.